Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a fresh copy of Dice Flick. It's a new dexterity dice game by Pegasus Spiele. So let's get right into this. It's a simple dexterity game that my kids just absolutely enjoy. It's not the perfect game, which I'll explain why later, but it's a fun game that is played pretty quickly. So the game is played over 10 rounds, and on your first turn, you will pull out 3 random dice from the dice bag. You will then choose 2 of the 3 to flick one after the other onto the board. And to do this, you will choose one of your dice to put on one of the 4 ledges, and you will flick it so it lands in one of the slots lower down in the box. You then do it again with a second die, one of the 2 left that you picked, which leaves you with 1 die that you keep. On your next turn, you'll then draw up to 3 dice, so if you have 1 already from the previous round, you will draw 2 more. You will take turns doing this until everyone has taken 10 turns total. Now, scoring is the main part of this game, and to score, you need to land 3 of the same colored dice in adjacent slots. When doing so, you will gain the sum of all the values shown on those dice. If there is more than 3, then you'll score all the connected dice of that same color. Now, in addition, there are some stickers that are left in some of the slots that can help you, and there are also some dice that can change things up. So let's start with the slots on the board. There are some stickers that have a color, and it shows 2 pips shown on it. This spot could count as one of the 3 dice to score points. So really, if you landed 2 dice of the same color next to that sticker spot that has that same color, then that's 3 spots adjacent to each other, and you will be able to score those points. If you ever cover up any of those spots with a die, then that sticker doesn't count anymore. It doesn't really do anything, but the die that takes its spot will count for the value that it's shown and of that color until it's removed. The sticker with the plus sign means that when you land a die in that slot, you will get an extra flick that turn, including drawing an extra die and choosing which of the dice that you have to flick again, and flicking more dice will always increase your chances of scoring more points in this game. The middle slot is the bullseye, and now any dice when it lands there is scored no matter what, no matter if it connects 3 of the same colored dice or not. It will also double the result of whatever is shown when it makes it there. Of course, the bullseye is the best place to land one of your dice. It'll pay out the most, but it's maybe the hardest to get. Okay, so now onto the dice. You have 3 main colors in the game: the blue, the yellow, and the green. The white dice are wilds and can be used to represent any color that you choose. This helps make the game a little bit more flexible, as the white die can substitute for any color you want. There are also 2 very special pink dice, and these are very different as they score more points and they also score differently. When they land on any slot on the board, you can score all the dice in its row, either vertical or horizontal, of the row that the die landed in. And the pink dice always scores 6 points itself. So it's a more powerful die where you can score more easily, and you have a chance to score more points, and you don't have to obey the 3 adjacent same colored rule like the others. So to connect all of these rules of the dice plus the slots on the board, let me give you an example. If you land a pink die in the middle of the board, then it will score you 6 points because it's the pink die, it's worth 6. The bullseye doubles it, so now that's 12, and then you will choose either the middle row or the middle column, whichever one probably have the most dice, or more likely which one has a higher value of pips shown, and all of those dice will be scored. As players continue playing throughout the game, sometimes you will flick a die and it will land in a slot, but it won't score. Either because it didn't land next to 2 other dice of the same color in adjacent slots, or you didn't hit the bullseye, or whatever the case might be. All of those dice will stay out on the board. If it lands in a slot and it can be scored, then those dice are scored and they are all removed and placed back into the bag. If the die lands in either the gutter or outside of the box, then at the end of your turn they are just placed back into the bag. Now, as the game goes on, other players will be landing their dice onto the board and won't be scoring. And maybe that will set you up for a chance to score more points with your dice when it's your turn. But you also will have a chance of missing those slots, and you might be putting more dice onto the board for other players. And this is just the way the game works. But you might get lucky, or you might use that skill and land that die into one of the slots that'll score you lots of points. After each turn, you will write down the points that you scored on your turn. Now, after 10 rounds, the player with the most points wins the game. So this game tries hard to be a quick dexterity flicking game and tries to fulfill that feeling that many dexterity games strive for, which is to have a hands-on goal, and then there is time where you see if you can do that goal. That anticipation and attention is what makes a dexterity game fun. So this game does that, it succeeds, but only to a point. The game tries to mix in elements that have been successful in other popular games, and it makes its own recipe. This recipe, to me, is a mixture of tumbling dice, strike, and crokinole. That mixture together, you get Dice Flick. The game starts off feeling like it's something special and different. It's like that special time where you treat yourself to a pop or a soda. But then you decide that you're going to go crazy and you're going to try a suicide soda, a mixture of multiple different flavors. Of course, the individual flavors are all great on their own, but when you mix them, it doesn't turn out like you wanted to, and it's not as desirable. But it's still a fizzy, sugary drink. It's still okay. Dice Flick's combination of different elements that tend to be really good in other games just doesn't mix right with this game. It's still a decent game, but it's like what one of our Meeple Mountain writers, Jesse Fletcher, has said about other games. This mixture just cheapens the experience and causes something weird, like a suicide soda. The game plays in 10 rounds, but you might only be scoring in 4 of them. So more than half of the game, you feel like you didn't do anything, even though you did. You were flicking your heart out. But you just have nothing to show for it. The flicking is interesting and fun at first, but after a game or two, that excitement dwindles. Although this game does have some of those problems, it still has some good things. The game is short, like it should be. There technically is a possibility to score points if you draw the right dice every turn. There is a good variety of dice to draw, with the pinks being the most powerful. You know, everyone wants to get those pinks. Your turn tends to be more exciting when there are more dice on the board, so your chances of scoring increases. The dice that you flick ricochet off of others and increase the randomness a bit, but makes it a little more exciting to watch. Again, that anticipation and the attention that you spend in this game is there. The aiming and landing the dice in a specific slot can be very skill-based, and the result of the shown die when it lands into a slot is very random. You can also be good and score points, but you might not score as many as someone else on one of their turns because you can get lucky and land dice on high values to beat that skilled player. Both of those things in this game, that skill and the luck, make this game great in a way, but realistically, the skilled player will most likely be able to outplay the other. Again, after saying all these things, my kids really like the game. And so if it's a game that they want to play, I would be willing to play it with them. So it will still get playing time in my house because of that. And maybe it'll be the same for you. So flick dice with your family and friends in Dice Flick by Pegasus Spiele.
Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.